Okay.
Dr. Lamb.
You got me.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I was trying to do something and it wouldn't let me do it, but that's because you were. Okay. Okay, got you. Okay, so you already have control on your end.
Yes, when I cranked it up, I did for some reason.
Okay, okay, that's okay.
And
That's
it's
okay.
recording on
That's
my
why
end as well.
I thought I had done something wrong, so that I hadn't done anything wrong. That's the main thing.
Can you see me on the screen?
I can see your where it says course overview, but I can see your name, but I can't see you.
Okay, I don't know why it's not showing everybody's picture tonight.
I don't either.
That's okay. I don't look as glamorous as I normally do.
That hurt. I thought you said that's okay. I didn't need to see you. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Looking at you would be awesome, but I'm not as glamorous as I usually am, so I'm okay with it.
Well, it's got.
Click on start video for my screen to be seen, so maybe that's.
Well, I can see you.
I can see you.
It's got me. It cut my picture off as well, so I don't know. I see Patricia.
Look there.
Dr. Lamb, I see
wanted
you.
us to see you, Dr. Lamb.
I'm gonna turn it back off. I scared myself.
You're spruced up. Look at that. Red tie.
Oh, I had to be the department chair today and go up the hill. I had to actually work for a living, so I had to wear a necktie. I hate this.
Dr. Lamb, it showed me to begin with, and then all of a sudden the screen, it went away, and then when it came back, this is the way it was. So I don't know.
I did a Zoom meeting last night with a different group, and it never showed my picture. I was kind of disappointed because I looked good. But
You look good. Like, see, that's the way it always. See, I look so much better some nights. Lord,
but tonight it's okay.
it's all right. Well, Dr. Stedman, do you have the toolbar that comes up and down? If you do, if you can click on, if there's a line through your video, you can click on that and it'll show your picture. I think I'll click mine where mine goes back.
I don't really. I see it says mute, and I don't see anything else up there on my name.
Well, when you on the
Hide thumbnail video.
it's on the control bar.
Okay. So I
Dr.
see.
Stedman, now this is the only time we get to see you. You've got to fix it.
Okay. And I'm trying. And I see.
Ah.
There I am. I learned something.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, man.
Much better.
We're gonna.
Okay, that's better.
We're gonna make a techie out of you. Yeah.
Oh, he has worked hard on me, guys. I mean, hard. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Lamb, I think it is recording already. So
I think it's recording on my end.
yeah.
We'll know at the end when it stops. Whoever it
Okay,
starts to
yeah,
process on.
Okay, got
Will
you.
be good. All right. You can see my screen. All right. I've got the agenda over here. I printed it out. And so, Dr. Stedman, you talk and I'll move it to where you need to.
Okay, I just want to, and I'm going to ask you to interject at sometimes, Dr. Lamb, but you don't have to wait on me if you think of something. First of all, I just want to welcome the students to class this evening, and just go ahead. We've got a lot to cover, so I'm just going to go ahead and just start. worked very, very hard this weekend, just like you did. And I think all of you have realized that because I have provided as fast feedback as I possibly could after looking at your work, because I knew you were sitting there like a dog waiting for a bone, waiting for me to give you some type of response back. So I tried to be as efficient as I could with that. And in the process, if I messed up anything, I apologize. It was not because I did it on purpose. It was because I was juggling a lot of things at one time trying to get it back to you. But overall, I've told Dr. Lamb, overall, extremely good work. We have complimented you over and over again about how for the most part, how efficient all 4 classes has been as far as the caliber of work that we're getting. I will tell you, make sure that you're checking your email, your Gardner Webb email every day. It's important that you look at that, because that's where I'm communicating with you, and Dr. Lamb will communicate with you as well, and Dr. Hamilton if he needs to. When you go into your Blackboard and you look at your grades at this point, and just just listen, don't say anything, don't raise your hand, don't ask questions yet, just look at it. At this point, you should have already locked in to the assignment, the APSO assignment Dropbox. Your APSO task 1 should be there. Now that doesn't mean that everybody's is there, but it should be. If it's not there, you need to figure out why, and you and I need to communicate, okay? Everybody, unless you have communicated with me and I have given you an extension because you had a later start and I've given you a deadline this week. Other than that, everybody's task 1 final should already be in the APSO. And if you did everything that I told you to do and you cleaned it up, you got 100 points. So you know, you were ready to move on, and I told you to put it there and move on to task 2. Many of you have already completed the APSO task 2 final. It's already in there, but it didn't have to be in there. That is not actually due until this coming weekend, but if you've got it finished, I've told you to go ahead and put it in there. Why wait? Go ahead and get it in there. But the APSO task 2 should have been placed in the discussion board this past weekend, and everybody should have gotten comments back from me, and this is what I would have told you. I would have said, excellent work, and I would have told you a minor thing to clean up, or there was nothing to clean up. Get it ready for submission. You could go ahead and put it in the APSO assignment Dropbox, or I sent it back with revision, and I told you what needed to be done, and I said to send it back to me to look at it again. Now, I would have put a score in there so that you would have either gotten 100 points, or if there was not enough for me to review, as a placeholder, I would have put 0 in there, and I would have said, when you submit it back to me and I have approved it, that 0 will change. So when you look in your at your grades, if you look at that area and there's a 0, that means you still have not sent it back to me for a relook. If you've got 100, then that means that it's ready for you to go ahead and put it in the APSO assignment Dropbox. If it is blank, if there's nothing there, that means you have not submitted it on schedule like I should have gotten it on Sunday night, or unless you and I had made special arrangements. So those are things that you need to look at. At this point, if you have submitted everything on schedule, and I haven't taken, if you submitted it on schedule or you've gotten a clearance, when you look at your grades, you should have 600 points at a minimum. At a minimum, if you've turned everything in like you were supposed to, at a minimum, you should have 600 points. Some of you are going to have much more than that because you've gone ahead and done peer reviews and you've done other things, which is good. So I just wanted to get that clear to begin with, Dr. Lamb.
Okay.
Just as a reminder, and if you see me looking over here, I've got 2 screens that I'm working from. This week, just remember that your Zoom video link for the APSL 1 and 2 is due by Sunday night. Make sure that you remember Dr. Lamb and I spoke to you about the Zoom Masters or the Zoom Leader. We said that it should be the first person on the list. However, if that first person on the list has not made an initiative, then the second person on the list or somebody in that group needs to take the leadership and move on with it. That was a suggestion. We really don't care as long as the work gets done and then you share the load over the course of the semester. Remember also this week, and many of you have completed this already, for task 1 of the APSL, your peer reviews, 2 of them for 2 of your peers are due, and for task 2 as well, and those go into the assignment Dropbox. Dr. Lamb is showing you that right now. This is where you will place that work for a final grade in the assignment Dropbox. Remember, we told you there were 2 places that you would put work, the APSL assignment Dropbox, and I'll tell you when to put it in there. Other than that, it will go in the assignment Dropbox. This is different than what you put on discussion board. This is where you submit it to me, the instructor, for a final grade. Dr. Lamb, I want to clear up some things too. They can, as their clinical coach, either you or Dr. Hamilton, they can send anything to you at any time. However, I don't want them, they don't need to boggle you or Dr. Hamilton down with things. If I've told them it's okay, you're okay with that. So they don't need to send it to you to get a second opinion if I have already cleared it. It'll confuse them, and it takes up your time when it doesn't need to. However, if I send something back and you need more clarity, it's at that point that it's okay to reach out to Dr. Lamb and say, Dr. Lamb, will you look at this before I send it back to Dr. Stedman to make sure that just a second set of eyes helps some time. But if I've cleared it the first time, that's okay. You don't need it to go through somebody else.
Now, speaking of that, you know that you have an internship shell just like your 601 shell, and it's either mine or Dr. Hamilton. What we're looking for there is when Dr. Stedman says your work's just not quite good enough, it's proficient, but it's not accomplished, and you'd like to go to the next level, you drop it in there for us, and we'll give you help to move it up. Or if he says this is not good enough, and he can't, he gets you so far. If it's all there, he moves you on. You don't have to worry about us. But when you're struggling, or you're not feeling confident about what you're doing, you simply go back to Blackboard. Instead of going into the 601 shell, you go to, now it's going to be slow. You know how that is. You go to one that says clinical internship shell.
Okay, while you're doing that, Pam, that's why I said what I did. I thought that some of you were confusing that, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that the clinical coach, that is optional. You don't have to do that every time.
No, if you're having troubles. Now, there is going to be a time when you're going to have to, and
right, but not yet.
But it's only 2 times a semester that you have to, and I'll explain that to you in just a minute. All right, so if it's not going well for you, if you can't get started, if you're having issues, before or after Dr. Stedman, if you're having issues, you come to us and we'll coach you through it. And so I have these boxes over here on the left side. This is for review. If you don't know, if you're having problems, you just click on one of these, the task for review. When you click on that one, it will have the individual task in there for you. You just pop it right in there, and we'll help you. I mean, specific help, not just do better or, needs to be more kind of help, or that it'll be exactly what you need to, and what you're missing, what you need to add. It's exactly what we'll do. And so you can do that, as you can see, on any ANY, any task of any of these, all the way through your program, you have somebody to support and give you help that's available fairly quickly. Now, 2 times this semester, you're going to be required to upload something for me as your clinical coach. Let me stop and get these questions right through. Clinical coach Dropbox is optional. I didn't know that. Yes, it is optional. We're not just making you do extra work for the fun of doing extra work. It's there for a reason. If you get stuck, if you need help, we're there to help you. Thanks. I thought last Zoom said once you're cleared to submit into the long case, is that no? You're gonna have to put it in the intern shell. But once it's completed, you're gonna have to put it in the intern shell. You don't have to do comments every time, but you are gonna have to put your work in the intern shell. And let me show you that. Here in the evaluation drop boxes, like for the app cell. Now what I have here is, again, I have options for you here. These first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes are optional. Once you're getting ready to put your final narrative together, all 5 of your pieces together into one comprehensive document, if you feel like one of your parts is weak, you can pop it in here and I'll grade it right quick. And I'll tell you exactly what the grade will be on that individual task. And if you can live with that grade, then go on. Again, that's optional. That is optional. I will grade it for you. I'll give you a pre-grading what I think it'll make on the state grade. If you can, some people only want 75. They're only striving proficiency. We want you all to strive for accomplishment, which would be 100. But I mean, some people are just sliding in. But I would
Dr. Lamb,
the option to grade your work one last time to give you kind of a preview of what you're going to make, what I think you're going to make, and I'm pretty close. Now, here's the only requirement for the app cell this semester in this box. The only absolute is this last box right here that says app cell, final evidence narrative. That's the required one that has all 5 tasks in one document. You are required to put that here. That's the only requirement. Because what I have to do is, you notice this one looks a little bit different than the other boxes. This one is a Turnitin box that helps us with plagiarism issues. So this is formative. This will not count against you. You have to put it in there, and if as long as it comes out okay, probably less than about 50%, you're going to be good. A lot of times the problems are with cited works, references, those kinds of things. Now, this is a Gardner-Webb thing. Once it goes in here, we will help you. I will help you to get it fixed. That's part of the service as well. So don't wear me out on comments early on that, that Dr. Stedman is doing with you. This is when my help is most valuable, is when this thing comes back and it's in the red instead of the green or the yellow. We got problems and we got to do a fix. We got to figure out how to fix this to get some of that out. Now, if you're just straight copying other people's work, I can't help you. But if it's just a reference issue, then we'll work on that. Because once it clears this drop box, it goes straight to TaskStream. And guess what? The first thing they run when it gets to TaskStream is they run a Turnitin diagnostics from the state. So, and that one is summative. If you fail that one, not a lot I can do for you. This is the check right before you go to that to make sure that we're not going to have any problems when it hits that state box that gets graded by the state. That's why I said we have a system in place. Our folks' work doesn't fail and it doesn't get rejected for plagiarism or uncited references because we have a system here. Now, if you feel like you need my help on every one of your tasks and you like my comments, that's fine with me. But that just slows you down. We don't want to slow you down, but if you need my help legitimately, I'll be more than glad to comment on any of your work. I'll grade any of the tasks that you graded before you put them together, but I have to have you submit that one here, and there's one just like this for the AppTel later this semester. So those are the only 2 required submissions for this semester are in those boxes, but you have a number of other options if you need help along the way. But this is where my help will be most valuable is if yours turns out in the red on Turnitin, we'll get it fixed before it goes to the state.
And Dr. Lamb, I want them to know too that when they get to task 5 of the APSL, you and I both will direct them at that time about putting it all together in a single document, one document. And I'm going to look at that before you get it to Dr. Lamb, and I'm going to make sure that it's cleared with me, and then Dr. Lamb's going to be the other set of eyes that looks at it. We're going to make sure that it's ready to go to task stream before it's submitted in there. So we're going to tell you how to do all that towards the end. Dr. Lamb, somebody asked a question. If they resubmitted work, would it, like for Turnitin, would it recognize it as copied work?
It will. That's why you only do it one time on the final one when it's all together. That's why
only going to go through Turnitin that one time.
It's a one-shot deal. Once it's in there, now it will be excluded when it goes to this is just for Gardner Webb. It will be excluded when it goes to Turnitin for task stream.
Now, Dr. Lamb, they need to understand too. We understand and they understand. A lot of your research, if you're citing to 4, everybody's going to be very similar with that. If you're at the same school, some of the demographics is going to be the same. However, when we look at work and we look at your narrative work, that's where your narrative work should not be the same as somebody else's narrative work. And you know, that's where the difference is. But some of the research, if you know, D4 is D4, so that's going to show up repeatedly. And
well, we're going to give you about, you know, somewhere between 35 and 50% we don't get bent out of shape because it's the same stuff. We get that, but it's what that's matching. But somebody just made a good point. You could turn your own work in, just your work. But if you turn it in pieces, it doesn't recognize it as your work. So that's why we have you wait till you have all 5 tasks. You pop it in there. We'll run it. If it's too far in the red, we'll work on it. We'll run it again, and it won't. As long as we run it again as a whole document, we're fine. And then when we go to task stream, it only compares it against your own work again, and so it won't come out. It won't trip you up when it goes to task stream that way. Dr. Lamb, again, if we had you put it in each individual time, it wouldn't recognize it as your work, and there would be a problem. That's why there's only one drop box here that has Turnitin turned on it.
Okay. Okay, I think that clears that up. Just to remind them again, while it's on my mind, go back and check your Zoom teams. We had somebody that dropped out today, so that made a difference in the team. So everybody needs to go back and look at their Zoom teams. If you have not heard, if everybody should have heard from, you should be a team already. You should have collaborated, whether you've Zoomed yet or not. You should have collaborated. So make sure, and if you haven't heard from anybody, somebody on that list take the lead and you become the Zoom leader and make it happen with your group. Dr. Lamb, let's move on to let's go over task 3 with them.
Okay.
And while you're looking for it, I really like the initiative that many of you are taking, and you're figuring some of this out on your own. You don't even you know, and I can see already. I can see major growth in how you're beginning to put all this together.
Y'all see the handbook on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Lamb, I want to point out to them too, in week 3, I don't know what happened because all that, I went in there today to check the link, and in the syllabus and on the side, the link that was there has died. I even tried to go back, and I took it. I guess the source has just died completely. It won't even let me retype it and put it. But what I did, I went back and I found some new sources to help them with the annotated bibliography, and we'll go to that in just a few minutes. But just know that it may come back again. I didn't take it out, but I found them some more resources just in case that it does not work. So.
Well, and please remember, the library tab in Blackboard, right next to my Blackboard, is a great place. Let me move this out of the way and remind you about that. Hopefully I won't lose it or you. Get back up out of the way. So next to the CETL, when you click on that library tab right there, there's a good place to go in and do research. You click on the library tab, and I may lose this.
Okay, while you're looking, Tawana, yes, I have. Everything that has been submitted for task 2, I have looked at it and commented. So if there's a problem and you haven't heard back, you need to communicate with me.
All right, so you have a number of find articles, find books and ebooks, research library guides. Can't find what you need. There's a number of things here that you can use, and you can find books, you can find articles. Let's see when we do Bulldog 1. There we go, Bulldog 1 right there. That's what you want, Bulldog 1, and you just type in PLC, or you type in, obviously you're not going to type in PLC. What you're looking for in task 3 is an annotated bibliography of things that address the most pressing need that you have. And say your most pressing need is reading fluency. You would type in the reading fluency, and it would show you studies that people have done with different programs to address reading fluency. That's what you do. So go to the library tab, find an article, go to Bulldog 1. Now, if I try to open that thing up, I'm probably going to crash. So I'm not going to open it up while I'm inside of Zoom. It doesn't like me to do things of that nature. But there's where you can find that. All
and
right.
that's going to be most helpful with task 3.
It is.
Most helpful. Dr. Lamb, while you're getting back, Tawana, communicate with me. If we don't talk tonight, communicate with me tomorrow, and we'll figure that out.
Okay. So you'll research best practices, create a literature review, and an annotated bibliography. Now, the biggest mistake students have, the biggest mistake they make is they don't see where it says create a literature review and an annotated bibliography.
That's 2 things.
That's 2 things. And so let's speak to those 2 things. I'm going to speak to literature review, and Dr. Stedman's going to speak to, he's going to speak to an annotated bibliography. The literature review, that section basically says, these are the things that I need to look at. I need to look at my problem. I need to look at these kinds of solutions. I need to look at staff development. I need to look at those it kind of lays out what your search is going to be. Your literature review says, these are the things that I think are important and I'm going to go and research. It's kind of an introduction. So let's go on down here and look at our prompts. Create an ad that is featured in the narrative to evidence and illustrate best practices for identified need area, including a section that features online tools to support the teacher and student. So you're going to do an annotated bibliography. But the first thing you're going to do is have a section that says literature review, and it says, these are the things I'm going to review for this reason. I'm going to need to look at, reading fluency. I'm going to need to look at reading programs. I'm going to need to look at staff development. I'm going to need to look at these things to determine what we're going to do to address our most pressing needs. You got to introduce your annotated bibliography, and that's what the little literature review section. It's just an overview of what you're going to do. Just like you never just start with data or a figure with a graph, you always have to introduce things like that, or an annotated bibliography needs an introduction as to what you're doing. Remind us, my most pressing need is this. I need to research that. That's what you do in your little literature review section. Then you go into your annotated bibliography. Take it away, Dr. Stedman.
Dr. Lamb, tell them with their literature review, they're going to ask the question, what is the minimum number of references that they need to use in their literature review? The minimum number that they can use in that literature review that you just mentioned. The three to five, would you say?
Yes.
3 to 5. Okay.
So Pam asked a great question.
Okay.
The idea to research strategies and practice that have proven successful and pull those strategies out that we want to propose to the PLC to implement at our school. That's exactly it. That's
Good job, Pam.
it. We want to find things that have been successful in schools that look like ours that have the same problem that we do. And so part of that literature review is you say, my most pressing need is this. Why do you think we had you do a school profile? Because we want to remind you and for you to learn who you are and what you look like. Because when you start looking at studies, it's very important to find something that worked in a school that looks like yours. It's in a similar external context, neighborhood, community, and similar internal. So that's the idea here is, and that's why we had you do a school profile. Everything doesn't work the same in every school. Every program, treatment, or fix doesn't work the same everywhere. If we were in face-to-face class, I'd tell you a long-winded story about a principal I used to work with named Harold. He imported a program that had worked in a northeastern private Catholic school into a public school in the South that was not affluent, and it went disastrously bad day one until they made him quit. There was nothing wrong with the program. There was nothing wrong with the program. He just put it in the wrong place. And see, programs have efficacy. They have effectiveness, but only for the populations that they're intended to serve. Everything doesn't work the same way everywhere, or as well everywhere. And that's why we're having you understand who you are, so that when you start looking at these research studies of programs or treatments or fixes that people have tried in their school that had similar problems as yours, did that school and community look similar to yours? If so, you have a much better chance of it working at your school. That's the notion here. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We want tried and true here.
It's credible research that you're looking for.
And not stuff just off Google.
No.
Or sponsored ads. We want you to go use a legitimate search engine like Bulldog One. I just showed you how to do that, to find programs, treatments, or fixes that people have instituted in a school that looks like yours to address a problem that looks like yours. There's nothing new under the sun. Somebody's tried something somewhere, and somebody looks similar to you. But those demographic characteristics, to get back to the Harold story, what made that program a failure in Harold School, where it had worked at the private Catholic school in New England, is all those moms were stay-at-home moms, and they could come to school and help. In the community that Harold was in, nobody was a stay-at-home mom. If you didn't work that day, you didn't eat that night. It was a lot of piecework in that part of the world, day laboring. And parents couldn't come to school because they were out in the job working, trying to have something to eat that night. And the program depended upon parent participation in the actual school building. Well, that should have been your first clue that that's not going to work when people can't get off their job to come to work. That should have been their first clue, but they didn't understand goodness of fit. And too many times we try programs that have worked somewhere, sometime, but they don't look. But our school doesn't look like those. And sometimes we have a solution hunting a problem. That's very common in this business too. Is we have this problem, but we're going to try this. Well, is that really, does Avid really fix that problem? Well, yeah, but that's what we're going to do is Avid. Well, Avid doesn't really address all problems. That's a solution hunting a problem. We're going to do Avid. Well, does Avid fix the problem that we have? We're affluent, and most everybody here in this community is college educated. Everybody knows that Avid is for folks whose parents didn't go to college. So Avid won't fix your problem at some schools. It does a great job at others, but it's most useful in places where it's intended, where there is a goodness of fit. And so I see too many times people already have, I want to try this program. Well, what problem is that going to fix? Well, I don't know, but we just want to do this program. Well, then do that program, but understand that that's not going to fix your problem. It's only going to add to your problem. We want you to be smart and data-driven and understand population and sample. That your population, got to look like the sample population that was in the study that was successful. They've got to be similar. Let me catch up on questions here.
Tamara asked a good question about the programs being technology-based. Yes, Tamara, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, we want something that's technology, that is at least related to technology.
Right.
That's kind of what we're looking for. Most programs and treatments and fixes nowadays, and I'll tell you why. I've had students ask me, why has it got to be? Because technology takes the place of personnel. We don't have any money, and you don't either, to do this. And technology usually allows you to be able to do things with existing personnel, but just do it in a different way. And so high tech means low people. That's one of the mistakes that folks made in our economy is they didn't understand. Oh, let's go high tech. Well, we don't need any employees. The technology takes the place of the people, and so, but that's a good thing in the school business, and that's why we want you to try to do something that's technology savvy. That way, it won't be personnel intensive. You won't have to have a lot of people to do it. That's the thought behind that. Now, if you have a good solution that's not technology that's appropriate for the problem that you have, we'll go along with that.
Right.
As long as you have the personnel to pull it off. But the problem is always going to be the personnel. Always.
That's right.
Always. That's the bane of our existence in the school business is having enough personnel to pull everything off that we want to do. And technology has been a great tool to help us with those things.
Okay, Dr. Lamb has already talked with you about, for Prop 1, the literature. There's two things: a literature review about your identified problem from Task 2, and then the next thing is going to be the annotated bibliography. Well, you should know already, but just in case, an annotated bibliography is a bibliography that gives a summary of each of the entries. And the purpose of these annotations is to provide the reader with a summary and an evaluation of each source. You're looking at probably a good paragraph. I mean, you're not writing a dissertation there. We need at least 5 regular sources and 3 online sources for this. So you're doing 2 things. You're doing a literature review, and then you're doing an annotated bibliography with 5 regular sources and 3 online or virtual sources. And Dr. Lamb, I'm going to ask you to go to week 4 in just a minute, but go ahead, before we get there, go ahead if you would talk about prompt number 2.
We'll detail how the PLC created and used multiple graphic organizers and visuals such as charts, tables, graphs, timeline, and embedded them in the narrative to demonstrate how the PLC projects that the chosen best strategy might be applicable to the need. And so what I suggest, if you will go back and look Let me move some of this. Stuff out of the way. Right here.
You just want everybody to see a close-up picture of you.
Oh, God. I scared myself. All right, let me get that back up top and get this down to the bottom so I can get to this. So if we go to
Andrea asked, "What is an online tool, Dr. Lamb?"
An online tool. Just a second here. Let's see what this is. Make it life size. By regular sources. What do I mean by regular sources? An online tool is something, some kind of learning program, something, a website, a search engine. That's what an online tool would be.
And a regular source would be, it could be a book, it could be a journal article. That's the
something
difference.
other than a textbook.
Yes.
Something in technology. We're trying to get away from textbook. We're trying to make everything virtual. Online tool might be a book or something, information from online. Everything needs to be computer based now. That's how people, get their information now.
But they're going to have they're going to have regular sources from books or from
like Achieve 3000 is a perfect example.
Right. Yes.
Achieve 3000 is a perfect example. All right, now let me get back to where I was headed. Oh Lord, come on.
And Dr. Lamb, what they're going to find, and it talks about it in prompt 2, you're going to find that even when you go back to the template, you're not going to see a lot of drawn out examples. That's because this is going to give you an opportunity to be a little more creative with what you do in task 3. So just remember that there's no right or wrong, and I'm getting everything I say, I'm hearing myself back.
All right. Candidates will detail how the PLC created and used multiple graphic organizers and visuals to demonstrate how the projects the chosen best strategy will be applicable to the need. We need for you to show us visually what you're going to do here. It may be charts, it may be graphs, it may be pie. We need for you to visually express what you're going to do, as if you were going to explain it to me, what you were going to do without using narrative. Now, you got to set it up with narrative. But we want some visuals that people can see what you're going to do. Why would we want that?
Dr. Lamb, ask everybody to mute their devices.
Yeah, everybody needs to mute. We're getting a lot of. There we go.
Thank you.
So, what we're looking for here, is for you to graphically display data, information in a way that is a visual snapshot where people get it. Some people learn by narrative and some need to have a visual aid. You're kind of creating a visual aid here. Let me read it to you again. You'll detail how the PLC created and used multiple graphic organizers and visuals, such as charts, tables, and graphs, timelines, and embedded them in the narrative to demonstrate how the PLC projects that the chosen best practice might be applicable to the need. You're going to show the relationship with those kinds of things. You're going to show a chart that shows that if you do this program, you get this much growth. Well, that would be a bar chart of some sort, or pick a graphic of some sort, a chart, table, or graph that represents the kind of growth or that similar programs have gotten in similar schools. This is where you're trying to sell your program here. You're trying to sell this to somebody. You're going to present this to your school leadership team. This is where the sell job comes in. And they want to see a visual that scores went like that, not straight up, but went like that. They want to see a visual about what they can expect if you do this. That's what they want to see. Again, and I have And as Dr. Stedman said, we intentionally didn't give you an example here because we want you to be creative here.
And Dr. Lamb, they did, many of them did they did an excellent job even in task 2 with the visuals.
Yes.
An excellent job.
We like visuals. People have become visual learners. You know, Dr. Stedman and ours are the last generation of readers. Everybody now listens to Kindle or their phone, or they have Bluetooth. They have to see pictures. That's the way people learn nowadays. People don't learn from narrative anymore. It's just not the way of the world. And you've got to understand that you've got to start doing things using technology and visualization if you want to convey information to people. And because that's going to be your biggest task when you become a school administrator, is to convey to people information and your vision and what we need to do. And you can't just write a memo. People don't read memos anymore. I can tell you right now, if you send me an email after about the third line, I've already lost interest. Email is supposed to be short and sweet. If you got that much to say, call me. You know, I can't read War and Peace on my phone. You know, the first thing, I have to find my glasses to read. And I lose interest after a couple sentences because I've become more modern in my mode of communication as well.
Anyway,
all right, let me start with some of these questions.
Andrea asked a question. Could she use visuals or charts that have already been created? Yes, you will use some of the. Yeah. You'll begin to see that you'll use information over again, in other areas.
Yeah, you can use it. Absolutely. Study Island's great.
That's right, Pam.
Yeah. I like Study Island. I mean, a lot of those things, 3000, there's some really good websites that are with Reading 3D. They've got some really good websites as well. And there's just all kinds of things out there with, you know, and kids learn, you know, kids will read anything if it's online. I mean, if it's something that's got pictures on it, and adults as well. And so you're trying to make this as visually appealing as possible and communicate as much information as you can visually as quickly as you can. That's the notion here. And then when you get to 4, come on down, look. When you get to 4, it's kind of split by the page, and let me make it where it won't be that way.
And we'll talk about 4 again next week too.
We'll talk about it, but you're going to put together a graphic organizer that does who, what, where, when, and why. You know, in task 3, you're going to do a cell job, and in task 4, you're going to put it all together in a graphic organizer as if operationally, as if you're going to run this program. You're going to need this graphic organizer to be able to tell you who's going to do what, where, and when. This is your plan right here. This is what we're going to go and do now. But that's not what task 3. Task 3 is a cell job. Just remember that. You're trying to convey the importance and what you can expect if we do this. Task 4 is shifting to, all right, I've sold them on it. We're going to do it. Now we're going to put our plan of action together. That's why it's called an action plan. So you see the difference in the two. Too many times I get basically 3 is just a repeat of 4. They're completely different things. 4 is just quick and dirty. This is what we're going to do. 3 is much more creative because you're going to sell people by using the information and the data expressed in a visually impactful way.
And Dr. Lim, I will tell them, if you wait until the last minute to do 3 and start thinking about it, you're going to bomb it. You will not do a good job on task 3 if you don't put some time and thought into it.
Yeah, and it's more thought. It's more thought and how to be. Some of you are very creative. I've told you before, Dr. Stedman, he's the creative one. I'm the operations guy. See, the stuff that you do in 3 has no effect on me. I like what's in 4. I'm the operations person. But I'm the oddball in our business. You've got to capture the imaginations, hearts, and minds of the creative people in 3, because there's a lot more of them than there are operations people. The operations people will only want to see your graphic organizer in 4, and they're about 1 out of every 50 people in our business. The other 49 are going to be enthralled with what you do in task 3. That's where the real sell job comes. That's know your audience. Know your audience.
That's correct, Candace.
Know your audience, who you're trying to sell this stuff to. They're creative people. They're smart. They're bright. Most of them are young. They're hip to technology. Know your audience. But then when you have to go and actually execute it, you have to switch over. Execution is over in the operations arena. Then you have to get rid of the little flowery stuff and feel good stuff, and you've got to commit who's going to do what, where, when, and why, and how we're going to assess it, how we're going to pay for it. That's what operations people are interested in. So there's a big intellectual shift between task 3 and task 4. From one side of your brain, the right side, the creative side, to your left side, the operations side. And so that's what it's a little mental exercise here. Some people struggle with it. It should be easy, but some people struggle with this, not because it's a lot of hard work, but some people are stuck on one side or the other, and they don't have the flexibility to be able to do both of these things.
Dr. Lamb, can you see Tamara's question? That was a good question.
I can't. Let me get on that and get to it. All right. Are we selling you on one program or a few possible programs? No, you better choose one. You got a lot of different references, but you're going to pick one. And most of them are all of your annotated bibliography are going to be 3 to 5 or 6 of them that say this one program works. You're not going to have 6 competing programs in your annotated bibliography. That's an excellent question. When we talk about references in your literature review, there's 3 in that. Then you got your annotated bibliography. We want 6 sources that say what you picked will work. We want 6 sources that say what you picked will work. We don't want 6 sources that say this will work or that will work or the other will work. You can have some of that, but what we want is no, you're going to pick one. You're going to pick one and run with it. So we're most interested in reviews of how that one works. That one works. That's what's your annotated bibliography. Your literature review, you can say, I looked at this program, I looked at that program, look at the other program because this is my most pressing need. That's basically how that works. You identify your most pressing need. Your literature review says, well, I looked at this area, and this area. And then this is the area I went with. Here's the feedback on that program. Here's 6 different people. Here's 6 different people that have done this, or 6 different studies, and this is the results that they've got. That's the best way to do task 3, is look at it as literature review. I looked at these areas, and then annotated bibliography. This is the way I went. Task 3, you do a sell job with something creative and visual. Task 4, you put it all together and operationally. This is how we're going to run this thing. And then in 5, you reflect on the competencies that you have achieved having done this process.
Right. Thanks, Tamara, for that question. I think you just cleared a lot of things up for some people. I saw a lot of responses back on that.
Now, folks, let me remind you, this is how it's done in real life. I mean, getting everybody on board is the hardest job you have as an administrator. Again, communicating information and getting people on board with you. And, you say, well, that's a sales job. Well, that's exactly what it is. You want the best marketing, the best sell that you can get. That's what you're looking for here in task 3. This is where you put your salesmanship on. You're most creative. Those people who sit around and think up those Super Bowl commercials to sell product. That's what you're doing. Exactly what you're doing.
Dr. Lamb, somebody asked a question again, said they were confused about the 5 regular sources and the 3 online sources. Let's talk about that one more time. It's all centered around the one problem that you've identified in task 2. That's the research you're doing. But go ahead, Dr. Lamb, and let's clarify that again.
What we're talking about is in the literature review of different things that you looked at, we want to see 3 references. And then once you figured out which way you're going to go, we want to see 6 on that. 5 or 6. 5's minimum, 6.
Right.
Remember, there's 2 functions here. One's a literature review where you looked at different things in terms of what might fix your problem. Annotated bibliography is once you decide, oh, that's the direction we're going to go. Then you research that particular program.
What does current research have to say about your identified problem? What are the best practices out there that research has got to say about them?
Yeah, and so 3 for your literature review. We want you to look at least 3 different things. 6, feedback from programs similar to what you're trying to do. It doesn't do any good to come out of your annotated bibliography with 6 different ideas. What are you going to sell then? Looking for 3 for best practice and 6 once we have our final idea of our program. Yes.
That's a good way to look at it, Lauren.
That's a good way to look at that. That's a good way to look at that is you're gonna be looking at best practices, at least 3 of them, and you've got to come up with one that fits what you're doing. And then we want you to focus on doing research on that one area. I'd rather you do more research on the thing you pick than doing a literature review that has 15 sources. That's of no value. 3 things you looked at, this is the way to go. Let's go. These are the 3 things I looked at. This is the one I picked. And then we went out and researched that one, and we got a lot of feedback on it. And got a lot of good ideas about implementation and, pitfalls and things to do and not to do. 3 sources from your lit review will be on your reference page. That's correct.
That's correct, Brett.
Bibliography will just be in the body of your paper. That's correct from a formatting note for APA. And
just remember, now this you think that I was picky about the APA in task 1 and 2. APA is really going to be looked at in task 3, so make sure you do it right to begin with.
This is where we have problems with Turnitin. Once you referencing all these resources here and doing your annotated bibliography, make sure that you use the correct format here, and we'll be able to do that. So yes, again, the 3 references that are in your literature review will go on your reference page at the end. The annotated bibliography will be the body of your paper.
Okay, Dr. Lamb, if you'll go to the Blackboard page, I need to show them something that I've added to week 4 very quickly. We told a story, Dr. Lamb.
Uh-oh.
We said we were going to do all this in 30 minutes, and I knew we couldn't do it.
I've never said I'd be on here for 30 minutes. That's never happened.
But it's been good. I think we've accomplished a lot already.
I looked up the other night in 6:03, and I'd been on for an hour and a half and hadn't even got started good. I heard snoring when I unmuted. What do you want to look at?
Go to week 4. Okay, scroll on down. Okay, now go back up. Go back up. Now, what I could not get the link under readings. I could not get that to come on. So come on down. If it won't come on, then what I've done is, if you'll see down at the very bottom, there is a short video on what an annotated bibliography is. It's a very good video. It explains it very to the point. And then if you'll click on the next link, annotated bibliography and APA, Dr. Lamb, down at the bottom. Click on that. This is a great example. Come on down. This shows you, is it going to show the red? There it is. This gives you examples, exactly what it should look like when you put it in your paper. APA.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some good examples to look at.
And you can always go straight to Purdue OWL and they'll help you.
Right. I looked at that as well, but this one was very simple when I looked at it. And the last thing that I need to tell them on my part, Dr. Lamb, is I know that they're getting ready. The case studies are not due until next week, but they're already getting together with their Zoom groups. So just a reminder that you need to know that they're on the side as well. The case studies are on the side. You click on them. There are your case studies. You need to read them in advance of your peer reviews, and you need to be ready to discuss the questions. Once you do your Zoom meetings this week, as a team, you need to decide who is going to host next week and be responsible for this. So, again, that's leadership. I'm going to leave that up to the team to decide who's going to do that. Scenarios 1 and 2, week 5. There's nothing in writing. The only thing I'm going to look at is the video when it's submitted. And make sure, I had somebody to submit me something today and I had to send it back. When I clicked on it, it said it did not exist. Make sure that it's a live link when you send it to me.
Okay. Question from Nathaniel is bidme.org. Use Zotero, Purdue OWL, if you can. And I think they're much simpler than some of the things. Now, a point of clarification here. You have Zoom groups. You have two completely different functions as Zoom groups. One of your functions is to peer review one another's work. The other is to do case studies. Don't get that confused. You're using the same groups, but you're doing the content of what you're doing. When you do peer review, you're peer reviewing folks' tasks. This time when your Zoom group gets together, you're not reviewing a task, you're reviewing these case studies. We've had some problems folks who've had a hard time understanding that your Zoom group does more than just peer reviews. It also does the case studies.
And you'll do this 3 different times during the semester.
Yeah, and that's why we've cut down on the number of times you have to come online and peer review one another's work. We think there's more value or additional value in coming on 3 times and doing these case studies. So we took 3 of the Zoom reviews out to make room for these case studies so that we're not wearing you out with Zooms. So it's not, we don't want these to compete with Zooms. These have value intrinsically on their own. And that's why we want you to do these. These are good things. They're good thought-provoking things.
Dr. Lamb, I've covered everything. What have you got left?
I'm good. Do we have? All right. TaskStream is now available. You got an email yesterday that you all have been batched into TaskStream. As of this morning, everything's now working in TaskStream. You can set up your competency folio. You can put competencies in it, and you can request comments. Don't do the publish and share. Just request comments when you put things in your competency folio. You can also do your SOE dispositions. You do not have to write a narrative. All you have to do is self-assess. Just click the button that says meets expectation. I don't know that it could be much simpler than that. A couple of you did those today, and I clicked through them right quick. And so self-assess yourself where you are. You don't have to write any justification for it. You can just click through. If you want to write a note, I read the notes if you write them, especially if they're personal notes about why you think why you think you exceeds already. I like to read those. I need to laugh every now and then. I like reading those. So if you want to write me a narrative and those, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. So you can just click on the buttons. But all those functions are available now. Seth got all that in this morning. We're actually about a month ahead of schedule, so that's a good thing. Our goal was to be in at 3 weeks, and today was 3 weeks exactly. So we did pretty good. We made our goal of having everybody up and operational in Blackboard and all of TaskStream. Everything's working and rolling now. It's not as easy as it sounds because, again, it costs money to put you in, and we have to be sure you're going to be with us. We have to do drop add. We got a 3-day delay because of the university being closed, but we're still we're right on time where we need to be with the technology, and everybody's up and working. Thank you for your patience. It's this way every semester. It used to be 2 months. We're down to 3 weeks now. So we've done pretty good. We've gone from 8 weeks to 3.
Tamara, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it on my end.
We used to be midterm before we got all this done. Now we've gotten better at our processes, and we're down to 3 weeks. So I'm very pleased. No excuse not to just get rolling now. Everything's up and working. You know how everything works. You figured out the pattern. I'll come on again. What is it, next week on Tuesday? Let's see now. Am I going to be on this Thursday night?
I don't see a reason. I think we need to give them some time to work with what they need to do, and then we'll come back together again next Tuesday.
Right, that's fine. I'm always available if you need me. You can work through the shell, but I can come on. We'll give you the night off Thursday night. Y'all have done such a good job. We're actually about a week ahead. We normally come on for 4 weeks because we haven't got everything up and running yet, but because we now have everything up and running, we won't have to come on the second time this week. So you get Thursday night to work rather than have to come on and listen to us.
We're getting a lot of thank you so muches.
But you folks are already about a week ahead of where we would, of the fastest pace we've ever had before. And I'll echo what Dr. Stedman said. I'm just tickled pink. I went up the hill today and they said, Lord have mercy, said, or how are those people doing that 3-semester program? How are those people doing? They've got so much to do. Are they going to be able to finish on time? And I just said, yes. We're actually a week ahead.
Pam said we were drill sergeants.
I was actually an officer, but I'll take that. I don't mind being accused of being a working man in the man's army. That's no problem. That's no problem. That's a compliment to me.
But anyway, I am thoroughly enjoying. Y'all are working my honey off, but I am enjoying all 4 classes.
I'm having, we're having the time. We love to read your work. We love to see the growth in you and know the potential that's coming out of you. That's kind of why we do this. They just pay us in Bitcoin. It's just imaginary money. So we do this for the love of the game, I guess. It's all, just for the love of the game. All right, Dr. Stedman, when I close this thing out, if it's recorded on my end, I'll upload it and shoot you the link, and you can post it. If it's not, it'll be recording on your end. Everybody have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay.
All right.